a staple of the Super Mario Bros. Game since the very beginning have been power-ups. The items that give you a literal boost, allowing you to complete stages and defeat enemies much easier than if you're in your normal form. Even though most of them are run-of-the-mill, at times there could be one included that is a bit of a head-scratcher and doesn't really seem to fit with the rest of the gameplay. With these specific ones giving me the idea to create today's video, focusing on the most out-of-place power-ups from each and every game in the franchise. I'll tell you why I think this, what exactly they do, and at what levels you can find them in. And oh yeah, before we get started here, my name is Copycat, and if you haven't yet, then please subscribe to my channel, as I'm trying my hardest to hit 200k by the summer, and I think you all can get me there. The very first game to be released in the mainline series is Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo Entertainment System, where there aren't many power-ups from this original title, but if I did have to pick one to be considered out of place, then I guess I'd have to go with the star. I'm only picking this iconic thing as it doesn't really give you a huge advantage in this game. Yes, I get it, it makes you both invincible and invulnerable, but it just doesn't show up enough, and when it does, it only really helps you out for a split second before you return to normal Mario. For newer players, I guess I could see this being a bit of a crutch, but for veteran platformers, this isn't even needed, and most of the time now, I just skip by them as I'm already using something like the Fireflower that does its job in killing enemies anyways. The second of the original NES trilogy would be released in North America in October of 1988. And because this one is a reskin of a Mario demo game called Yumi Kojo Doki Doki Panic, which was only brought over to America because the true Japanese sequel was deemed too similar and too hard when compared to the first for Western audiences. This means basically every power-up you come across is considered out of place, as they act somewhat differently and are found in ways that deviate from other games. The first I'm going to mention are the small hearts, that flutter from the bottom of the screen once you defeat 8 enemies in a stage, where it will restore one of your hit points if you've lost any. Plus, it will cause you to turn into the big version of your character if you happen to be small at that time. You'll also grow to your big form if you collect a mushroom. Although here they aren't found within blocks or even given to you by enemies, instead gotten by putting down a potion door that allows you to access a subspace that contains the bonus room coins for the slot machine. If you're in the right spot, a mushroom may appear as well. Again, making you big as well as giving you an extra vitality point, meaning you can take one more hit of damage from an enemy in the level that you're in. Lastly, I want to point out how odd it is to collect a star, where here you have to get 5 cherries to have it spawn in from the bottom of the screen. Although it acts the exact same when you get it, as you're invincible and can defeat any enemy you come in contact with. Again, it's weird that there's technically no block other than the POW in this game. So at least these are ingenious ways of getting these power-ups, although Nintendo would never ever do this again, and Super Mario Bros. 2 really is a one-off. The final of the original NES trilogy, Super Mario Bros. 3, will come out for the system in 1990, where I think it's pretty obvious that the power-up we're going to talk about is the Tanuki suit, which acts similar to the Super Leaf as it allows you to fly momentarily, but here also gives you the added ability of being able to turn into a statue. In this weird state, you're basically indestructible and can defeat certain enemies you usually can't, plus block incoming attacks from enemies that would usually damage you. However, there is a downside, as you can only stay like this for a short period of time before you return to normal. These are found through the secret pipe located in World 4 or 5, or by breaking a rock in that World 4 overworld that leads to a mushroom house, only done by using a hammer that can be found in one of the Hammer Bros Versus stages. Again, this power-up is rare and can't be found in many places in the game, so it feels out of place as it could be more useful, but in the end it is kinda pointless. The first handheld game to come out in the series is Super Mario Land for the Game Boy in 1989, having 2 very strange changes to what are pretty regular power-ups I want to look at, starting with the Super Ball Flower. At first this makes it seem like you just turned into regular Fire Mario, but there's actually a twist here, because instead of throwing fireballs, you throw a Super Ball, which not only bounces off different surfaces, but also can be used to collect coins. Something that's actually useful, as at times they're put in places that are just out of reach. The other is the change made to the star, specifically the song that plays when you collect it, as instead of its regular theme, Gallop Infernal from Orpheus in the Underworld by Jacques Offenbach plays, better known as the Can Can song. Just listen. Up next is the Super Nintendo Super Mario World that came out for the system in August of 1991. having two very unique power-ups that definitely could be considered out of place, with the first being the Cape Flower, turning you into Cape Mario, allowing you to fly. This is actually better than the usual Super Leaf, as you can use the cape to your advantage and pretty much fly/glide indefinitely, just needing to periodically press back on the D-pad with the right timing. You're also given the same swipe ability that you can defeat enemies with, as well as stop projectiles coming at you, which is pretty neat. The other is a power-up that only shows up in a few levels, but is the main feature in the Power Balloon, where Mario becomes inflated and you can float through the stage for a brief period of time before returning to normal. In that stage called Tubular, you have to use this over a series of insane gaps that include some of the most annoying enemies in the game, where one hit from them returns you to normal, and that means you'll most likely fall into the void to your death. The sequel to Super Mario Land, titled The 6 Golden Coins, would also come out for the Game Boy, but this time in 1992, where once again, the power-up I want to look at is the Star, as here it has an even weirder song that plays when you collect it, which really isn't easy on the ears. To me, this sounds like nails on a chalkboard, and isn't memorable at all. But at least there is a slight change to this power-up, as if you kill 5 foes with it, then it gives you a 1-up for your troubles. Although unfortunately you can't find it that much in this game, and a lot of the times the enemies are few and far between, so it sort of becomes useless. I think I could have also mentioned the Carrot, which turns you into Bunny Mario, or the Fireflower, which gives you a sort of native headdress that kind of looks a bit inappropriate in today's day and age, as both are definitely weird, but maybe not as out of place as that terrible theme. Ugh. When I was looking through which power-ups I could include from Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island for the SNES, I decided to just go with every single Yoshi transformation for a specific reason, as they're based off of everyday real-life machines that I'm not even sure you could find at all in the Mushroom Kingdom. These include a helicopter, mole tank, train, car, and submarine, as well as one that gives Yoshi skis, where he then can get down the snowy mountainside much easier. I couldn't find any explanation to why Yoshi can't transform in the first place, let alone into some sort of motorized vehicle from the real world, where really I think the train is the oddest, as you begin to stick to the wall and have to follow a track on the wall, which for some reason doesn't make sense in my head and actually does lead to some confusing gameplay. The only sort of official power-up in this game is also really out of place in the Superstar, which doesn't turn Yoshi invincible, but does affect Baby Mario, allowing him to dismount from his dino buddy, turning him into an out-of-control toddler where you can now run up walls, pass over dangerous hazards, and glide for a short period of time? This just looks wrong for some reason, as I'm used to this baby version of our mustachioed hero crying uncontrollably, not owning enemies equipped with a diaper and a small cape. The first game to come out based within the 3D realm was Super Mario 64 for the N64, which instead of power-ups has different caps that you can wear that all affect Mario in a few interesting ways. But for sure, the most out of place has to be the metal one, turning you into Metal Mario. This not only makes you invincible to enemies and other hazards, but also increases your weight drastically so that you can now maneuver underwater and trigger certain switches that you otherwise couldn't. I really do wish this was used much more in the game, other than just mainly in the Hazy Maze Cave course, but this was pretty much fixed in the DS version, which is basically a new experience entirely, so I suggest you guys play the game if you never have before. Another game to come out in the 3D realm is Super Mario Sunshine for the Nintendo GameCube, which here ditches the power-up mechanic in favor for the Flood, which has a few nozzle variations you can collect, with the most out of place in my opinion being the Turbo one. Unlocked after finding Yoshi and collecting 25 Shine Sprites, this attachment allows you to charge it up and spray water out of your back, allowing you to run incredibly fast, whether that be on land, sea, or to make some insanely far jumps. It's really not used much in this entry, and isn't as useful as the other attachments other than in spots where it's needed, so it feels just a bit out of place, as using just the regular spray and hover nozzles are the best ways of getting around. Nintendo would eventually return the series to its 2D platforming roots with the release of New Super Mario Bros. For the dual screen system, where the out-of-place power-up from it that I want to mention is the Mini Mushroom. When eaten, this causes Mario to shrink to a minuscule size, putting him perpetually at 1 HP, meaning you'll die taking any damage. But you have the benefits of a floaty jump, and the ability to walk on water, which can be advantageous at times. Also, you can enter smaller pipes to find secret sub-areas full of goodies, like different power-ups and star coins. Although this does suck because at times they're in stages that don't even contain the shrooms, so you have to go out of your way to bring them there and use them without dying. Also, completing certain boss fights as Mini Mario is the only way of getting to certain worlds, specifically 4 and 7, as without it, you can't enter the small crevice of the ground leading to these areas, as Big Mario will just take the normal exit. This sorta sucks and puts a lot of emphasis on a thing that doesn't even appear much in this game to begin with. So you better have an open item slot, or are just skilled enough to carry this one without dying, which is unfortunately something that can happen very easily in this form. Next up is the space-based Super Mario Galaxy entry that came out for the Wii in November of 2007, where once again, I have to mention this game's version of the Superstar. Here given the title of being a rainbow star, as you begin to glow in rainbow colors once you collect it. Now, it's not this visual change that causes this power-up to make this video, and instead, it's due to the spots that you find them in, as you can only use them within the 3D sub-areas, which is definitely a letdown, as most of the times those are hidden and not part of the actual levels. Plus, on top of that, completing the rooms by killing all of the bad guys doesn't even give you anything. Just a few coins and that's it. Nothing else for your troubles, which sucks, as at least in the follow-up game you're given 1-up shrooms, which is something. The only other power-up I want to talk about is the one that transforms Mario into a bee. A creature I never thought our plumber would become, and one that really feels strange when you use it. Here Mario can fly for a very short period, platform on flowers that regularly wouldn't open for him, and climb up honeycomb walls as the way to traverse through the majority of the Honeyclimb Galaxy. Even though its functions make sense, it's just a weird thing to see. Relying on it for quite a few stars, so it's not like it's that rare, it's just out of place. The second installment of the new Super Mario Bros. Sub-series will come out for the Wii in 2009, which is home to one of the weirdest Mario power-ups you'll find in this video in the penguin suit, essentially turning Mario and friends into the strange aquatic bird while also giving them its benefits. In this form, you could throw ice balls, just as you could if you had the ice flower, letting you then use those frozen enemies as platforms. You can swim more efficiently underwater, just like you could with the frog suit in Super Mario Bros. 3, and also you can slide on ice for as long as you want, being able to defeat enemies / break bricks in this state, which is kind of awesome. Moving on now to the second space-based entry, Super Mario Galaxy 2, also for the Wii. There's one power-up in it that I always felt stood out against the rest, which is the rock mushroom that turns Mario into, well, a rock. This happens when you shake your Wiimote, turning you into an out-of-control boulder that can break basically anything, including hard-to-defeat enemies, as well as letting you gain access to certain secrets you need to gain access to move forward. Probably my favorite level involving this form is the Melty Monster Galaxy's Chimp Bowling Mission, where Mario now becomes a bowling ball and you need to knock over a certain amount of pins, / the enemies, gaining a certain score before you reach its end to gain the star. Nintendo would perfectly blend aspects of the series' 2D and 3D realms with the release of Super Mario 3D Land for the portable 3DS, containing a power-up that lets you become a longtime Mario foe, the Boomerang Bro. After World 4, you're able to find the Boomerang Flower, that when collected turns you into Boomerang Mario, allowing you to throw a boomerang to damage and defeat enemies, as well as use said boomerang to collect goodies with it that might happen to be in the level that you're in. I think my favorite part of it has to be the cute helmet that they put our hero in, going as far as giving him a chin strap, which is pretty nerdy, but I love it. The third installment of the new Super Mario Bros. Sub-series, oddly given the moniker of being the second for some reason, came out for the 3DS in 2012, having pretty normal power-ups in comparison to other games released around this time, with the only out-of-place one being the Golden Fireflower. That, of course, turns you into Golden Mario. This specific collectible is absolutely overpowered, as with it you can throw golden fireballs that do splash damage when they hit their target, which when enemies are hit turns them into coins, which makes sense for the theme of this game. Apparently you can also defeat Bowser in one hit, but I wasn't able to find footage of it, so if you know where I can see that, then please let me know in the comments below. The final installment of the new Super Mario Bros. Sub-series would first come out on the Wii U, and then later would be re-released in deluxe version on the Switch, having one secret power-up that's really weird to use in the P-Acorn, a special version of the regular acorn that here allows the user to jump and glide indefinitely through whichever stage it's being used in. I guess this is sorta similar to the P-Wing, but the added squirrel factor is really what makes this one so weird. But I guess that a flying squirrel makes more sense than a flying raccoon does, but I'm not thinking about it that deeply. You get whatever, shh. Up next is a Super Mario 3D World entry that also was initially released on the Wii U, and then would be remastered and re-released on the Switch, where without a doubt, the power-up I'm going to talk about from this is the Double Cherry. When you eat this fruit, it multiplies your character, which is something never before seen in a Mario title, allowing you to have up to 4 on screen at a time that all move simultaneously, so they can be hard to control. You need to keep a certain amount of these alive, as they're then used to trigger different lifts that let you reach some secrets, with this really only pertaining to the Double Cherry Pass stage, which also is one of the strangest in the game. Bowser/Meowser also eats this during the Great Tower of Bowser final battle, which really ups the ante. Although that is an odd stage, as you never really fight the King Koopa, and instead just have to traverse up the tower and bonk the giant POW block to win. The absolutely massive Super Mario Odyssey Nintendo Switch entry sort of ditches power-ups in favor of the ability to capture different enemies and obstacles and use their unique abilities for your pleasure. Although there still is one power-up left that you can collect in the Rocket Flower. Scooping these things up with Cappy gives Mario a super speed burst, being able to stack up to 3 at a time, which does eventually wear off if you stop collecting more. This is needed to complete certain stages where you have to run on walls, across water, or even during the Luigi's Balloon World game mode, as you can get super far into Kingdom in little to no time at all. The final of this video, and the most recent to come out in the franchise, is Super Mario Bros. Wonder for the Nintendo Switch, having a few standout power-ups that really don't fit with the rest of the series, with the most evident having to be the elephant fruit. This turns you into your elephant form, where you can swing your trunk to defeat enemies, as well as spray them with water as a way to stun them. This really is an out-of-pocket choice for an animal for Mario to become, and I'm interested to see where Nintendo takes things in the future, as I want to see even crazier Mario crossovers. Alright, that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. I really hope you did enjoy this one. If you did, please leave a like, comment below what you thought about it, and of course subscribe to my channel, as I'm really close to 180,000 subscribers, and I want to get there by the summer, and I think you guys can help me. Hope you guys all have a good day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!